In this video, we're going to tackle problem 82A. Before we do it, I want to remind you, my website, tonybell.com. You can download the whole workbook for yourself. No sign in, no sign up, nothing like that. You just click and you get a free PDF. As you scroll down, you'll notice lots of the problems, like the one we're working on now, is free, right? Lots of free problems, including 82A. However, there are plenty of members-only videos. If you're finding you're getting great value out of the free stuff, I hope you'll consider a channel membership. All right, let's jump into the problem. Let's jump into problem 82A. We're asked to do FIFO inventory, and we'll start with the perpetual method. A quick comment on my sunglasses. I had a medical procedure on my eye, and my eyes look a little wonky today. And I know if there's one thing that attracts viewers to my channel, it's my aesthetic beauty. So I didn't want you to see me with wonky eyes. That's why I'm wearing these sunglasses. ABC Company uses the FIFO method to account for its inventory, and there's a list of transactions. It also notes on January 31st, a physical count of inventory is performed. The ending inventory is 290 units. We'll comment on that as we go. Part A, perpetual inventory. We'll do Part B in a second video here. I'll cut that periodic inventory into the next part of this video. But it asks us to prepare a perpetual inventory schedule showing cost of goods sold and ending inventory. Okay, so if you're asked to prepare a perpetual inventory schedule, I do have templates on my website, tonybell.com, but I would expect an intermediate accounting student to be able to do this by hand. So here's what it looks like. There's three sections. There's a section for our purchases. There's a section for our cost of goods sold, and there's a section that's like a running tally for what we have in inventory. The headings here are QCT, whoa, T and the C are too close together, and QCT, and let me just draw lines down in between them, betwixt and between. I'm going to just have a little cough. There we are. Okay, the Q stands for quantity of units, the number of units. C is the cost per unit, and T is total if you multiply the quantity by the cost. So let's start with our beginning balance on January 1st. We date this Jan 1, whoops. And what are we doing here? Well, did we make any purchases on Jan 1? No, we had an opening balance. Did we make any sales to track cost of goods sold, not sales revenue, cost of goods sold? No, I didn't make any sales. Do I have inventory? And the answer is yeah, I have 200 units. The cost is $40 each. 200 times 40 is $8,000 in opening inventory. Next, we make a purchase on January the 8th. Jan 8th, we purchased 300 at $48. So on the purchases column, I'm going to say 300 at $48 for $14,400 worth of inventory. I had 200 at 40 for 8,000. I bring that down, 200 at 40 for 8,000. And now I'm adding to it 300 at 48 for $14,400. With FIFO and LIFO, you do not want to combine these. And the reason you don't want to combine them is because you got to know what came first, what came second, what came third. That's the whole idea of FIFO, first in, first out. And that's what we're doing here. We'll do a similar problem shortly on LIFO, but for now, we're looking at FIFO. January the 15th is my next relevant date, so I draw a line, and I go Jan 1-5, and on January 15th, I sold 225 units. Now, here you can see the amount, 225 times 100, well, 225 times 100 is $22,500, but that's revenue. We're not interested in revenue. We're interested in cost of goods. How do I figure out the cost of goods? I got to figure out which units did I sell. First in, first out means I sold the oldest units first. So I sold 225. I must have sold all of these old $40 units. 200 at 40 for 8,000. And what else did I sell? Well, I must have sold 225 in total. I must have sold 25 of these next units that cost $48 a piece. 25 times 48 is $1,200. What do I have left? Well, I had 200, I sold them all. I had 300, I sold 25 of them. I've got 275 left. at a cost of $48 each. 275 times 48 is 13,200 sitting in my ending inventory as of January the 15th. Continuing. January 21st, I make a purchase of 175. So on Jan 21st, I purchase 175 units. That goes in the purchases section, of course, at $52 each. 175 times 52 is $9,100. So what do I have left? I had 275. I didn't sell them, so I just bring it down. 275 times 48 is 13,200, and I'm adding to that 175 at 52 for 9,100. Again, no attempt to combine these units is being made because I need to know what came first and what came last. When we do weighted average method, we will combine. Last, but certainly not least, January the 30th, I sell 160. I got to say, which 160 did I sell? And the answer is the first 160, the oldest. So I sold 160, and I had enough here of these $48 units. So 160 times 48 is $76.80. And what does that leave me with? Well, it leaves me with, let's see, 275 minus 160, 115 at 48. 115 times 48 is 55.20, and 175 times 52 is 90. Oops, I should bring this down. 175 at 52. I didn't have to do the math. I'd already done the math. 9,100. Okay, we've completed our inventory schedule, but we haven't answered the question. It says show cost of goods sold and ending inventory. Well, we have the information, but we haven't really shown it. So ending inventory is just the value here. So 9,100 plus 5520 plus 5520. Our ending inventory value is 14,620, and the ending inventory amount 115 plus 175. We have 290 units with a total inventory value of $14,620. So that's the answer to that. Now it also asks, show cost of goods sold. Okay, well, cost of goods sold is just the sum of this column, 8,000 plus 1,200 plus 7,680. So our total cost of goods sold for the month is 16,880. So COGS equals 16,880. Okay, now we have fully answered part A. Part B says calculate ending inventory. Well, we did that, 14,620. Sales, COGS, and gross profit. Okay, so our sales revenue, we touched on a little bit earlier. We said, our sales were 225 units times $100, 22,500. We didn't say this one, 160 times 100, that's 16,000. So my sales revenue for the month, 38,500. So that's my sales. My cost of goods sold, COGS, is 16,880, and 38,500 minus 16,880 is 21,620, and that's our gross profit. Now, I am on the board of directors. I've probably said this a few times, of a retail store, and we obsess over one number more than any other, gross profit percentage. We also obsess over inventory, but that's maybe for another time. So I like students to state the sales revenue as a percentage, the cost of goods sold as a percentage of sales, so 16,880 divided by 38,500, 43.8%. And the last one is going to be, what is that? 56.2%. 100 minus 43 is 56. And we can double check that. 21,620 divided by 38,500, 56.2%. Okay, we've answered part B. Calculate ending inventory, sales, COGS, and gross profit. One quick comment here, and we will touch on this later. It shouldn't be lost on you, it says we counted the inventory. The ending inventory was 290 units. And when we counted our inventory, we said there was 290 units. Those matched. We're going to, in the bonus question, say, well, what happens if those mismatch? And they only really mismatch in one direction. We end up with less inventory than we thought we had because Maybe some of it broke, maybe some of it was stolen, maybe some of it was misplaced. That happens all the time at all companies that carry inventory. There's, unless it's closely controlled, inventory goes missing. And so we have to account for it. It's a very normal thing for the accounting function to deal with. But in this circumstance, the fact that our accounting system said we had 290, we counted the inventory, we have 290 means great news. No special adjusting necessary here. There will be in the bonus question. Part C, though, says prepare journal entries for all the transactions above. Assume all purchases and sales are made on credit. Okay, so we only have 4 transactions. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason I didn't put January 1st is there's no transaction there. It's a beginning balance. We would have recorded all the journal entries that created that beginning balance in previous months. So we start with January 8th. We're going to do a journal entry for January 15th. We're going to do a journal entry for January 21st. And we're going to do a journal entry for January the 30th. So let's do those journal entries. Purchasing inventory, easy entry. In Perpetual system, debit inventory, credit AP. In periodic, we'll do something a little different, but Perpetual, debit inventory, credit AP, and the amount was $14,400. When we make a sale, generally the same entry, debit cash or AR. In this case, we said everything's on credit, so debit AR, credit sales revenue for the revenue side, debit cost of goods sold, credit inventory for the fact that the customer walked away with some of our products. So there's always 2 entries in Perpetual when you make a sale. Debit AR, credit sales revenue for the $22,500, the value, the sales value or the retail value of the product. Debit COGS, credit inventory for the cost of goods, which we've tracked in this table. It's the whole point of the table. $8,000 and $1,200. It's $9,200 is our cost of goods on that one. January 21st, we buy more inventory, $9,100 worth. Debit inventory, credit AP for $9,100. And again, that's just $8,000 plus $1,200. January 30th, we sell some inventory. So same entry, debit AR, credit sales rev, debit cost of goods sold, credit inventory. The AR side of this is right there, $16,000. We sold 160 units for $100 each. $16,000 worth of inventory. Debit COGS, credit inventory for off the table, $76.80. Okay, so that's it for the main part of the question. Now, I did ask as a bonus part to part A, assume that we counted the inventory and we only had 288 units, not 290. What would we do? Well, we would have to do an adjustment to reflect that we have 2 fewer units than we figured. So we lost 2 units, either, through theft. They call it shrinkage is the term in retail. When units go missing or units get broken, they go bad, our inventory shrunk. And generally it means theft a lot of the time. So we thought we had 290 units. We only have 288. We got to get rid of 2 units. Well, we get rid of them from our ending inventory. And so we're using FIFO. So which 2 units did we lose? And the answer is the oldest 2. So the $48 unit. So I had 115. Well, I actually only have 113 of these, right? I lost 2 of them. So 2 units at 48. 2 times 48 is $96 worth of inventory. So I credit on January 31st, I credit inventory to reduce my inventory value to say I've got 2 less units. They're $48 units, I'm assuming. That's what FIFO assumes. So $96 worth of inventory has been lost. And the debit here most commonly is to cost of goods sold. And you might say, well, I didn't sell the goods, but it's the cost of doing business, the cost of offering goods for sale. If you offer, chocolate bars and these types of things for sale, some of them will go missing, right? Some customer will put them in, forget to pay or whatever happens, right? An employee could break them or lose them or whatever. It's a cost of offering inventory. So most often I've seen people debit COGS here. If it's significant or material or unusual, I've also seen the account shrinkage expense or even inventory loss expense I've seen used. But Cost of goods sold, by far the most often thing I've seen used. So what is the impact of this? Well, our COGS is $96 higher, our gross profit is $96 lower, and our inventory account is $96 lower than what we had previously reported. That would be the impact, but that's the adjustment to reflect the change. There we go, though. We have solved A2A Part A. Come back if you want to learn the periodic inventory method. That's what we'll do in the next video. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. The next video in our series is right up here, and if you want a supercut of all of the videos in this series, that's the one down below.